The Northern Kentucky real estate market is still a strong seller's market, and it's not showing any signs of slowing up anytime soon. Let's check it out. Hey, I'm Cameron with the Barron's team, your Northern Kentucky real estate agents, and if you're looking at stepping into this market as a buyer or a seller, it's more important than ever to have a game plan to meet your specific real estate goals. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us whatsoever. All right, let's start off with the first chart here. This chart is going to show us inventory. So number of listings. We have the blue line, which is active listings. We have the green line, which is new listings, and the gray line, which are sold listings or homes that have sold. So as we can see, homes that have sold, they're down year over year. Now, is that because less people are in the market to buy a home? Well, it's not. It's because there's less inventory for people to choose from. So if we look at the green line, which is our new homes on the market, it went down significantly around the holiday months in November and December, and then it started to tick back up a little bit. So we are seeing the new homes on the market go up, which is a great sign if you're somebody looking to buy a home, but we're still lower than where we'd like to be, and that's something to keep in mind if you're a buyer or a seller. How's that going to affect you? We're also seeing sold homes go up, and something that I like to always tell people to keep in mind is, yes, there are economic factors and interest rate factors that are at play here, but let's not forget seasonality. Around the holiday months and in the winter months, we always see less people wanting to list their home, and we see less homes on the market. So of course, there's going to be less new listings and less sold homes. So let's not forget that little caveat as well. But overall, we do see the number of listings increasing, which is going to help the number of sold homes. Hopefully we see that number to continue to increase with new construction, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right, and the next chart I'm going to go over is going to be listing prices. This is probably the one people care about the most. They want to hear about inventory, but mostly they're going to say, Cameron, how much am I going to pay for a house right now? Well, let's take a look and see. So let's start with this chart going over listing prices. This is active listings on the market. This is not sold homes. So if we look back at June and July of 2022, home prices were being listed for less than they are right now. Now, we did take a little bit of a dip there, October, November, December. It stayed pretty steady after that little dip. And then starting in January, we started to go up again. That's before we're even in the full swing of the spring market. So if you see things on the media or on news or whatever you're listening to about home prices are going down across the country, this graph is showing us something different, at least that people are listing at higher prices, higher than ever in the history of Northern Kentucky. We touched 400,000, dipped down a little bit to about 395, but this is the median list price. But again, this is list price. Let's see what people are actually getting for their homes. Let's look at median sales price. All right, now we have the graph that people probably care about the most, median sales price. And I do want to point out here that the median sales price, yes, it should be lower than the median list price, because keep in mind, you have new construction homes sitting on the market. You have people just testing out the waters, testing the market, putting their home up at a high price to see if they can get it. And then you have people that sit on the market and have to slowly do price reductions because they started out overpricing, whether it was intentional or unintentional. So keep that in mind when you're like, why were list prices so high? That's why it always plays out that way. But continuing to look at this graph here, so median sales price. Now, if we look back at June of 2022, we went up a little bit in July, and then we went down, and we took us a couple months to get back to where we were in June, and then we went down again. Well, what's happening here? Why are the ups and downs of the prices? Well, keep in mind, back in June is when we had a big rate hike, and then we continued to see rates increase. Once we get into the fall, we're in kind of our fall market. And then this is where you need to pay attention to economic factors and seasonality. I'll touch on real quick. Again, December, January, February, that's in the winter months around the holidays when less people are wanting to buy a home. So on top of interest rates, it's just time of year when less people are shopping. So there are a couple different factors of why this happened. But the thing that I want to point out the most is on the far right here, where we were at in May, our most recent data point. The median sales price was $285,000 for the Northern Kentucky area. That is the highest that it has ever been in the history of Northern Kentucky. So when you're seeing on the media, again, I keep bringing it up because I know that's where most people are getting their information, and you're seeing that home prices are going down and sellers are selling, cutting their home prices. That is not the case across the country. Real estate is local. It's important to know and set the right expectations. So if you are someone going to the market thinking I'm ready to get a deal, that's not necessarily the case here in Northern Kentucky, but there are other factors to pay attention to. So hang tight with me here. I've got some other information to show you on how exactly to interpret this data. Don't just pay attention to price. All right, the next chart here is one that I really like to pay attention to, and it really helps me when I'm trying to advise my buyers on submitting offers and my sellers on how we should strategically price their home. So this is the sold to list price ratio. And the thing that I like to point out with this one, it is the original sold to list price ratio. What does that mean? Well, think about it, when somebody lists a home, let's say they list their home at $300,000. They don't get the amount of showings that they want, or they don't get an offer, so they reduce it to $375,000. Well, then say they get an offer for $375,000. Well, if that home is reported as sold and it's reported at the $375,000, depending on how you're looking at the data, it could look like they got 100% of list to sales price. They had it listed at $375,000, it sold at $375,000. But to me, that's not telling the whole story. I want to look at their original sales price. If they had to do a price reduction of $25,000 to get to that $375,000 to then get a full price offer, to me, that's not a true full price offer. So let's look at this and see, this is again the original sales price. So if we look back in June, we were getting over 99%. I mean, that's close to 100. It's closer to 100%. If we're rounding, it is 100%. And then we did take a big dip. Why is that? Well, because there were less buyers in the market, because they were on the fence waiting to see what's going to happen with interest rates. So because of all those buyers being on the fence and less people, sellers maybe sitting on the market a little higher, because there's also a correction that happens whenever the market shifts. It takes a little bit for people to realize what's going on. So they may still be sitting at that high price, or, hey, I saw my neighbor list for 300, so I'm going to list for 350, when really the market's already starting to shift. So that that ship has sailed. But so it takes them a little bit to realize that. So they may have to do some price reductions, or they may just take a lower offer. So we saw that dip all the way down to its lowest point in February, where we were at about 95% list to sales price ratio, which we hadn't seen that in quite a while. But that quickly spiked back up due to buyer demand. And now we are sitting right at about 98, 99, right in between 98, we'll round it up, call it 99% of list to sales price ratio. So still back to sellers getting pretty close to what they're wanting for their original list price. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, this is one of my favorite graphs to look at because if you're a buyer in the market and you're wondering, okay, can I come in at 90% of list price and get an offer? Because I'm hearing that in other parts of the country it's happening. That may be, but it's not happening, at least on average here in Northern Kentucky. And then another graph that you might see real estate agents or real estate professionals talking about that we like to use as an indication of where the market's at is the absorption rate in months. So what is an absorption rate? Basically, it means with the amount of homes that are actively on the market right now, if they were to continue to sell at the rate in which they are selling and no new listings were to hit the market, that all of the inventory would be bought up. Now, obviously there's outliers. We know that's not really gonna happen because some homes just aren't gonna sell, but that's the equation that they use. How much inventory versus how many homes are selling per month? How long would it take us to run out of homes? And right now we are sitting right at about 1.2 months. So we're right back to about where we were a year ago when the market was still considered a fire hot market. So what does this tell us? Well, real estate professionals love to look at this graph because this tells us how much inventory we have and how much it's being, or how quickly it's leaving the market. Homes are entering the market and they're leaving the market. And this tells us about how quickly it's happening. So what does this mean to you as the average consumer? Well, just to give you an idea of historically a level balanced market, not favoring buyers or sellers, it's typically around 5 months of inventory. Some people consider it 6 months of inventory, but let's be conservative and say 5 months of inventory. That is considered a balanced market. This graph is showing us we're at 1.2 months. So we are still favoring sellers in this Northern Kentucky real estate market. Yes, it feels like at some point the past couple months, there was a little room to breathe because we had some more inventory, but I don't want people to get confused thinking it's a buying frenzy out there and you're gonna get whatever you want. Yes, there's always opportunities if you're looking to find maybe better deals or get a good buy, but overall, we are still in a seller's market here in the Northern Kentucky real estate market. And then lastly, I wanted to show this historical inventory information here for the Northern Kentucky real estate market. So if we look back 8 years ago, we had active residential homes, 2,494. Then 4 years ago, we had active 1,203 homes. And then today, or May 31st, when this information was pulled, we have 663 active homes. So what does each one of these eras tell us? Well, if you were in real estate 8 years ago, you know that inventory, it was helping us more favor buyers. So if you were a buyer and it wasn't uncommon that you could get below list price on a home, or you could get closing costs covered, or you had more homes to look at, that was when somebody would reach out on a Wednesday and we'd say, okay, what's your Saturday look like? All right, let's go out and view these 8 homes that you like on a Saturday, then talk about it, think about it, and maybe put in an offer on Sunday or Monday. That was 8 years ago. And then slash the inventory in half 4 years ago, totally different story. That's when we were seeing more bidding wars, more multiple offer situations, and the market was definitely tightening and we were seeing it favor sellers. And then today, where we're at, well, we all know how the market is right now. It's bidding wars pretty frequently. Sometimes it can be difficult to get a house even at list price, depending on the price point, of course, especially if you're below that median average sales price for the market. It can be a much more difficult market. And then getting closing costs covered can be almost impossible sometimes. So each of those 3 eras was a different market. But what am I trying to tell you? That inventory being low and there's just no hope and things are doom and gloom? Well, no, I'm not trying to tell you that. What I'm trying to tell you is just have a perspective of where the market is and what that means for you. So a lot of what we hear from some people are, well, I'm going to wait to buy until inventory goes up, or I'm going to wait to buy until the market crashes, or until rates go down. Well, think about all of those things. So I'm telling you, and this information is telling you, that when we had double the inventory, it was still favoring sellers. Now, rates were lower, so that caused more demand. That's, of course, a factor to keep in mind, but we still need significantly more inventory for it to catch up to demand and for that to cause prices to cool down. And if you're thinking they're going to go backwards, well, we need a lot more inventory for home prices to go backwards or demand to significantly change. But we're at such a low inventory that it's going to take something significant to happen for demand to slow up to a level that makes a difference. So the other thing being that more homes hit the market. Okay, so if more homes hit the market, then how many homes really need to hit the market for it to make a difference? It's a lot. And then there's going to be investors and buyers waiting on the sidelines that gobble up that inventory quickly. So it's still not going to last very long. And then the interest rate rebuttal that we hear all the time from people of, well, I want to wait for rates to go down. You're also not the only person waiting for rates to go down. So if rates go down but inventory doesn't go up, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be another feeding frenzy like we saw in 2021, where there were 5 to 10 buyers for every 1 home that was hitting the market. That's going to happen as well if rates go down and inventory doesn't go up. So I'm not saying that to try to cause fear to make a decision one way or the other. What I am saying is really use logic and reasoning when making your real estate decision. Don't react on emotion. So if you're wanting to buy or sell, make sure you're thinking about it with your own personal situation, not what the media is telling you, not what experts are predicting is going to happen. Look at the data, look at your life, and see what's best for you. So if you are having any questions about buying, selling, building, investing, we'd be happy to set a one-on-one appointment with you to sit down, go over your goals, look at the market, and see how we can make the best game plan for you. And as always, if you have any questions about the Northern Kentucky area or moving in the area, let the Barron's team help you today, and we look forward to talking to you soon.